If you've ever thought that Super GM games are boring, then I bet you that this video will make you reconsider. Because today, everybody, at 2700 beat another 2700 in 27 moves. Mind-blowing. I mean, it doesn't happen that often at that level. Well, guys, this game was absolutely spectacular, and it was played by Super GM Anish Giri from Netherlands. He was facing 16-year-old Indian chess prodigy Gukesh, and this was round number 2 of Tata Steel, one of the most important chess tournaments in the world that is happening right now. It was a classical over-the-board game, and I mean, the tactics that happened were absolutely spectacular. I had to show you the game. So guys, let's get right into it. The game started with Anish Giri who's playing with the white pieces. He went d4 and Gukesh replied knight f6, c4, e6, knight f3, d5, knight c3, and bishop b4. Now, this is the Ragozin defense. I actually used to play this in the past myself with the black pieces. And it's a pretty fun opening to play. It definitely gives black a lot of play. You get your pieces out early. There's a lot of it's a very dynamic game where black is going to have very active minor pieces, and you get to castle pretty early on as well. So bishop g5 is one of the most common responses, pinning the knight, and then h6, asking the bishop where is it going to go. If the bishop goes back to h4, well, then the bishop will not be able to come back to this diagonal and will never be able to come back to d2. And if you capture on f6, which is one of the most common ways of continuing here, then you can just go queen takes f6 back. And now at least you've gotten the bishop pair. But this bishop is typically not so good. And actually, I mean, you know, white does get a pretty good center. So it doesn't really matter that white loses the bishop pair. Now, before we continue, I know that many of you are going to ask me in the comments, Anna, why does queen a4 check not win a piece? Guys, it does not win a piece because there's knight c6, blocking the check, but also defending the bishop. All right, I know that you were thinking about it if you haven't seen this before. So before you guys ask me that, it does not, well, you can play it, but the queen is not always super well placed here. But it's actually one of the main lines to go queen a4 in some of these variations. But it's not something that black needs to be scared of, at least. So e3, castles, this all looks like a very normal game. Rook c1, and now black decided to capture on c4. Why? Well, because black wants to go c5 immediately. I mean, black doesn't want to develop any of these pieces because black wants to go c5 and immediately attack and threaten the center. Also, this knight will probably go to c6, so black is sort of waiting to this to be able to develop the knight and the bishop. I mean, the bishop maybe wants to go to b7, so it doesn't really make sense to go for all of this first when you can immediately just challenge white's center, which is right now the biggest advantage that white has. So castles and c takes d4. And now in this position, you can obviously capture back or whatever, but Anish went knight e4, threatening the queen, and this is still like a very, very, very theoretical position. I mean, this position has happened a lot of times. So knight e4, the queen is right now under attack, and it's kind of scary to place the queen somewhere here because it might get attacked by a lot of white's pieces. So queen e7 was played, a3, kicking away the bishop. This is the idea of going knight e4 first. That now, after you kick away black's bishop, the bishop cannot stay in this diagonal. It cannot come back to e7. So the bishop has to go instead to a5. And this diagonal, well, it's a little bit shorter than this one. One could claim that the bishop is a little bit worse placed here. So e takes d4. White decided to capture with the pawn instead of with the knight or the queen or anything. And now rook d8. And, you know, it makes a lot of sense to put the rook over here because this is the open file, and yeah, black is going to be playing basically against this d4 pawn. This is an isolated pawn that we have right now, so a lot of times black will just try to place some piece in front of it and just try to block it so they cannot push. So in this position, white played rook c2, which is very interesting. What is the idea? Well, Anish is saying, hey, I want to place my rook on e2, but you're not letting me place my rook on the e file because of this bishop. So I'm going to go rook here to place my rook on the e file. And actually, I mean, it's very interesting. It looks a little bit strange when you look at it, but very interesting. He just wants to go rook e2 and sometimes try to perhaps go d5 and ask the queen, where's the queen going to go? Because the queen doesn't have that many good spots. And it's especially good to do it now before black has had time to regroup all of their pieces. So bishop d7 was played, rook e2, and bishop c6. And now this bishop is in a pretty good spot, taking care of this diagonal. The knight is going to be going to d7. And this right now seemingly looks like a perfectly solid position. I mean, both players have their different plans. White played queen c2, defending this knight and just simply getting the queen out of the way so that maybe some rooks can come in. And now black made a move that perhaps doesn't really look like such a big mistake, but it's actually a slight inaccuracy, which is to go bishop b6. Now, this move isn't like terrible in any way. Like, the idea of going bishop b6 is that now this pawn is under attack, so it makes sense to attack. But actually, now Anish was probably really happy because everything that Anish wanted to do was that he wanted to go rook e1. I mean, this bishop was really annoying here because it was stopping the rook from going to e1. He could have gone b4 earlier on, but the pawn structure is not really going to be that fantastic. So actually, by black going bishop b6, it gives time for white to go rook e1. Now, in this position, you may say, okay, but Anna, this pawn is hanging. What happens if bishop takes d4? Well, if bishop takes d4, and this is just so pretty, but right now, there is an idea that, well, it happened the same thing in the game, but actually, it's not in the center where all the play is. This is not like where the play is. No. Actually, white is right now with this setup playing against black's king, which looks kind of crazy because I think that, you know, up to this point, it kind of looks like the game is sort of happening on this side of the board, on the center, whatever. No, the focus here is on black's king. So it's going to be the same thing if bishop takes or if king h8, which was the move that was played in the game. King h8, and now there is this brilliant tactic. I mean, Chess.com is giving this a brilliant move. A brilliant tactic that I think Gukesh missed, or at least didn't think was as strong as it was. But there is this fantastic knight e g5, and this is beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. What is the idea? Well, the idea is that you're right now threatening checkmate. Like, straight up, you're right now threatening checkmate at this point. So if black doesn't do anything, I mean, then there's going to be a checkmate. And what happens if pawn takes knight? You may wonder. Well, that is what happened in the game. Rook takes e6. A double brilliant move, guys. 2 brilliant moves in a row. Is that not absolutely beautiful? I just find it, I mean, it's fascinating. 2 brilliant moves in a row. Absolutely amazing. So rook takes e6. What is the idea? Well, the idea is that you're getting this pawn out of the way. And I mean, like, if the queen goes somewhere, like, where does the queen go? The queen cannot go anywhere. You're going to capture on g5. So the only move is to capture on e6. And now after rook takes e6, the queen is getting deviated. It has to go somewhere. I mean, you know, if queen f8 or whatever, like, there's going to be knight takes g5 and queen h7 checkmate is unstoppable. Like, let's look at queen f8, for instance. Knight takes g5, and if you now go something like queen g8 to stop the checkmate, then there's going to be queen g6, and you're going to be checkmating on h5, and there's nothing you can do. I mean, the best move here is bishop f3 to try to stop it, but you take it, and there's no difference. This is just absolutely fantastic. So after you've sacrificed a knight and a rook, there's no way to stop the checkmate. And it's brilliant. And it's the same thing. Like, in this position, after bishop takes d4, this would have been the exact same thing. There's the exact same idea that after takes, there's rook takes e6, and after captures. Well, now, the reason why Gukesh played king h8 was because in this line, we can see that the bishop would be pinning, and there might even be even bigger threats right now. But, you know, it's going to be the same thing. Absolutely fantastic. So h takes g5, rook takes e6. This was the game. And after rook takes e6, black decided to sacrifice the queen because there was nothing better to do. It was either to give the queen or to lose on a checkmate. So in this position, they played out a few more moves. And look at this. Anish Giri sacrifices yet another piece. Bishop takes f3, queen f5. Threatening right now to checkmate on h3. Beautiful. So now, I mean, if the bishop goes somewhere random, then there's going to be a checkmate. So bishop e4, the idea being that if queen h3 check, there's bishop h7 at least. And now he captured. Rook takes d4. It's hard to see what exactly to do. Probably here, better attempt would have been to try to go rook e8 or something, but super hard to play this with black, I think, at this point. Queen f3 was played. Need to make sure to not get back ranked, of course. g4, threatening the queen. Queen f8, check. I mean, you still have to be careful. Like, if you went bishop takes g4, like, if black is able to get their pieces out, then it's going to be pretty bad. Or it's not going to be as easily winning. So queen f8 is pretty important to stop the knight from getting out as the rook will be hanging. Because, I mean, to be honest right now, like, black is material up. It's just the fact that black's pieces are so stuck that makes white be so winning. But king h7, and now bishop f5 check, king h6, and after bishop c2, the rook cannot checkmate, and here Gukesh resigned. 27 moves for Anish Giri to win. Absolutely fantastic. And you may say, why did Gukesh resign? Well, the reason why he resigned is because in this position, his pieces just cannot get out. Like, the knight cannot move, this rook cannot move, and not only that, this king is getting checkmated. I mean, right now, there's all sorts of threats of going queen h8 check, queen takes g7, and it's just an absolute disaster. Like, there's the best move is to sacrifice the rook and go knight c6. And after this, I mean, you can choose if you want to capture on a8 or if you want to go queen f5 and checkmate. So it's just an absolute disaster for black here. So guys, I hope that this game made you feel excited about Super GM chess, because Super GM chess can be very, very, very exciting. Gukesh has unfortunately lost his first 2 games though. But you know, the tournament is very long. There's still like 12 games left. I hope that you guys enjoyed the recap. I hope that you guys want to keep on following Tedasteel because it's a super exciting tournament. And thank you guys so much for watching the video. I'll see you all in the next one.